Yeah. So in last session, we have seen, right, how to create dynamic table. Okay. So to create that dynamic table, we have taken the help of for of loop, right? So you can, instead of for of loop, you can go for each also, or you can go for map also. Okay, everything will work. So in JavaScript, we basically we go for of or for each. But when it comes to React, there we require the map. To do similar kind of action, we are going to take the help of map. Their map will be very useful. Now let's suppose I have a document. In that document, let's suppose I have multiple paragraph elements. I have a multiple paragraph elements. Now I want to select this paragraph. Maybe this paragraph I want to, second paragraph I want to add some styles. For my second paragraph, I want to add some styles. So I want to select second paragraph. But this time I want to select second paragraph using class name. So we have seen how to select elements using ID name and tag name. Now let's see how we can select our elements using class name. So for that, what I'm doing, I'm just creating one file here, something like index.html, creating a basic HTML file, taking one div. In that, let's suppose I'm taking one paragraph, something like lorem 30. Like this, let's assume that we have so many paragraphs. Okay, nearly 4 to 5 paragraphs I have. Now, if I just load this document in my browser, it looks something like this. So I have totally 4 paragraphs. Okay, so here I will add one H2. I will say something like class selector. Now my requirement is I want to select all this paragraph using its class name. It means I need to add a class attribute for all the paragraphs. So I'm just adding, for example, P1. Now same class I am adding to all my paragraphs. Same class I am adding. Okay. Now I want to select my element using class names. So I'm taking a script tag, creating a function, something like selector. Here I'm simply saying class selector. Okay, now let's suppose I have one button. Now I'm saying here, click me, or something like select paragraph. Whenever I click on this button, on click, whenever I click on this button, I want to call that function. Which function? I want to call this class selector function. Now in this class selector function, I want to select the paragraph. Now, if you want to select any element using its class name, then you have a function called get elements by class name. There is a function called get elements by class name, and here you have to provide your class name. And now this get elements by class name is going to return the reference of all the paragraphs you have in the document with the class P1. Okay, para references I will say. And this para references will be your collection type. Nothing but internally it will be one array. Now here, if I just do console.log of para references, it will print one collection. Just check here. Now if I just right click and open my inspect, go to the console. Okay, now I don't have anything here. Now, if I click on this select para, now see it is returning me one HTML collection. Now, if you see here, you have totally how many elements? You have totally 4 elements, and all that 4 paragraphs. All the paragraphs got selected. Suppose if I am not adding that class to certain paragraph, maybe for third paragraph, I am removing this class. Now, in that case, let's see how many it will select. Now it is selecting only 3. Not good. Now, if you want to select second paragraph, then we can select using its index number. So here simply we can say para references of 1, nothing but second paragraph. For that, I want to add some style, maybe something like I want to change the color to green. Now, if I come back here, if I click on this button, now see second para color has been changed to green. Maybe I want to add some more. So here I will just add a background color. Something like black. Maybe I want to add padding. Here maybe something like 20 pixels. Now if I click on this, now see I got this kind of style. Now inside this style property, I am using color. I am using here background color. I am using here padding. Now if you want to check inside this style property, how many properties we have like this. So for that, what we can do, we can just use this for let in operator, let some x in. I can just use this para references of 1 dot style. And simply I can print console.log of all the x. So what this for loop is going to do, it will iterate through this style object and it will pick each and every property's key, and that key it is going to print. Key it is going to print in the console. Now, if I just go back here to the console, and if I want to check it, simply click on select para. Now see this many properties we have inside that style attribute. This many properties we have. Suppose you want to see in your document object how many properties you have. Document is also object, right? If you want to check how many properties and what are those properties, simply add here document. Now it will print all the properties of document object. Now see this many properties we have in the document object. This many properties we have. Now see here there is one thing, something called create element. There are so many things we have here. Okay, so like this, you can just check. For example, you want to check paragraph reference. This paragraph reference have how many property? So just add that paragraph reference. Now, if I go back here, if I click on this select, now see this many properties we have in that paragraph references. There are so many things, so many things. If you start exploring each and everything, you can just imagine how much time it will take for you to learn JavaScript. If you start trying exploring each and every property, then you can just imagine how much time it is going to take to just learn JavaScript. Like this, we have so many predefined objects, and for every predefined object, there are a lot of properties added. Okay, so this is how using for in loop, we can check in a certain object how many properties we have and what are the key names of those properties. What are the key names of those properties? All those things we can check. Okay, so now we know how to select our element using ID value, using class, and using this tag name also. And there is one more. You can add here name attribute also. Name equals to something like P1. If you want to give some name for your element, then we can use this name attribute. We can add this name attribute. Okay, name can be duplicate. You can have two names. Okay, we can have same name for two different elements. We can have same name for two different elements. So if you want, you can select using name also. So how to select using name? Then again, you have one more function, get elements by name. Okay, so here if you search var para equals to, if I say document dot get element by name. Now here I am passing name as a P1. Now if I do console.log of para, let's see what it will do. Okay, now here I will just comment this part. I will comment this also. Now if I go back here, if I just right click, go to the inspect, go to the console. Now I got something like this. Now we got here node list. Same again array only. Now here if you want to pick first element, you can pick first element. If you want to pick second element, you can pick second element. So here let's suppose I want something like this. Para of one dot style dot color to be red. Now if I go back here, if I just click on this, now see I got this element as a red color. So like this, you can select your elements based on its class name, based on its name attribute, based on its tag name, based on its ID value. The standard way of selecting the elements is using ID. Okay, that is what we are going to follow in React also. So at maximum places, you will see that elements are selected using ID value only. Okay, that is the standard way what people are going to follow. But do we have only one ID approach? Answer is no, you have multiple things. If your requirement suits another approach, you just have to go with that approach. You have to go with that approach. Okay, now let's suppose I want to do one thing. This red color is there. This red color paragraph is there, right? This content I want to show in the bolder size. I want to show this content in the bold format. So in your HTML, if you want to show certain content in the bold format, then you have something like bold tag. This is a tag called bold. Nothing but the tag name is B. Inside this B tag, if you add some content, that content will be bold. That content will be bold. Inside this bold tag, if you add some content, that content will be bold. So what I want to do, this paragraph I want to show in the bold format. So for that, what I am trying to do, this para, I will just go with this para reference or this para red color only. Para one dot inner text I am using. And let's suppose I am changing the content of it. So I'm saying this is my third para, which looks little bold. Okay, I'm just modifying my paragraph content. Now if you come back here, if I just click on this, now see your third paragraph will get modified. Your third paragraph content got modified. Now this content I want to show in the bold. So to show that content in the bold, we can go with CSS, or else I can directly use here my bold tag. So just I have wrapped my content. I have wrapped my content inside the bold tag. Now just see the output. If I'm using inner text and if I'm using like this bold tag, like I'm using HTML tags, in that I'm adding content, in that case, how the output will display. Now, if you see here, output is not displaying in the bold format, but whatever B you have added, it is printing as it is. So what I want, my browser should format my content, or my browser should structure my content based on these tags. I want my browser should identify these HTML tags. So in that case, instead of inner HTML, instead of inner text, we can go with something called inner HTML. So if you use inner HTML property, then your tags will be recognized by browser, and according to those tags, your content will be structured. Your content will be structured. Now see, if I click on select para, now see my content looks in the bold format. If you want, you can display this content in italic format also. So if you want to show in the italic format, simply you have to add I here. Save it. Now if I go back here, now if I click on this, content is in the italic format. But instead of inner HTML, if I use inner text, in that case, what happens? Your HTML tags, whatever you are adding, it will not be parsed. Your browser will not be able to identify it. So in that case, it will directly print as it is that content. So this is the difference between inner text and inner HTML. In inner HTML, your HTML elements will be parsed, but in inner text, it will not be parsed. That is the difference. Okay. Now let's suppose I want to select this one, and I want to give some orange color to this content. For this paragraph, I want to give some orange color. So what I will do, simply I will select para reference of 3 dot style dot color equals to orange. If I save it, if I go back here, if I click on this, para references 3 or 2. Okay, now here we got it, orange color. So instead of orange, maybe coral I will try. I got coral. Okay, now what I want, this content, I want this content should get replaced. So there is a property called outer text. How we have inner text, we have something called outer text. And in that outer text, I'm adding here some content. What is that content? I'm adding here, this is my outer text property. Now what outer text is going to do? This content will be replaced, or I can say your paragraph, whatever paragraph you are displaying here, this paragraph will be replaced. Remember, this entire paragraph element will be replaced with this content. Now this content will not be displayed in paragraph. So your entire paragraph is going to get replaced with this content. Okay. For example, let me just show you. So just for easiest purpose, what I will do, I will just comment all this paragraph. Okay, if I am commenting all this paragraph, then here para references of 0 dot outer text it should be. Let me just comment all this code. So what I did, I just took the para references using its class name and simply para reference of 0 dot outer text. Now why I have taken 0? Because now in my code, I have only one paragraph. I have only one paragraph. So if I just click on this select, now see, this is the output. Let me show you. Let me go to the inspect first. Okay, now I have not clicked this button. And if you see my code, inside my div, I have h2. After that h2, I have here one paragraph. I have here one paragraph. After that paragraph, I have one button. I have one button. Now, if I click on this select para, if I click on that select para, so what should happen? Whenever I click on that select para, as per my code, my entire paragraph should get replaced with this content, Now let's see. Now, if I click on this, now see, here we had a paragraph, that paragraph got removed and that paragraph got replaced by this content. And if you observe here, in div, you have h2. After h2, directly you have some content here. You don't have any paragraph element. So what basically outer text is going to do? Outer text is just going to replace your existing element. On whichever element you are calling that outer text, that element is going to get replaced. In inner text, the element will not replace, only the content will get replaced. Only content will get replaced. But in outer text, entire element is going to get replaced. Entire element is going to get replaced. Now, whatever content you are replacing, if you want to show that content, in bold, or if you want to apply some HTML so that you can structure it, then you can go with outer HTML. And here I can just add that italic. Can I add BR tag here? Now, if I go back here, if I click on this, now see, I got, this is my outer text property. I will add one more BR. Now, if I go back here, if I click on this, now see, I got 3 lines break. Now here, that paragraph got replaced. With this paragraph content. With this paragraph content. Okay, so this is what I wanted to make you understand. Inner text, inner HTML, outer text, outer HTML. Okay. Now see outer HTML. Let's see outer HTML. If I use outer HTML, see here we got italic. So now we know everything, how to create dynamic user interface, how to select your elements, how to remove your elements, how to update the content of your elements, how that element should get replaced with the content. So whatever I have mentioned in the syllabus, I have covered everything. Okay, when it comes to DOM and DOM manipulation. So there are so many things to learn in the DOM and DOM manipulation. I have shown you, right, how many properties we have. So now you understood the concept. Okay, now you have to explore those options. Whatever options are available, those options you have to explore. Now, if I start explaining you each and every option, then you can think that we required complete 4 years graduation to learn only JavaScript. We required 4 years to learn only just JavaScript. If we start exploring each and every option provided in JavaScript. So we can finish one JavaScript engineering. So that much huge the JavaScript is. There are so many properties which I also don't know, like exactly how they are going to work. If I want to know, I have to go to the documentation, I have to learn about it, I have to read about that article, exactly what is the purpose of that property. Then according to my requirement, if it fits in my requirement, then only I have to use, or else I have to ignore it. So always keep the habit of reading the documentations, because documentation is a place where we can explore the things. So whenever we get a requirement. Okay. Now on your browser, you have one button, right? On this button, I am clicking this button, or on this button, I am moving my cursor, or sometimes I might have input boxes. In that input boxes, I might type something. So now whatever you are doing on this browser, everything is called action. Like here, if I'm clicking, this is called click action. If I am moving my mouse like this is called mouse move action. If my mouse is entering into on this button, this is called mouse enter action. If I remove my mouse, this is called mouse enter mouse. Like I think we have something like mouse leave action. That is mouse leave action. Suppose if I have input element. So here, let me add one input element. Okay, suppose I have here input element. Now here, if I am typing something, whenever I type something, my content inside this input is getting changed. Now this is called change event. Even if I remove this content, my content is getting changed. It is called remove event. This is called, change event. Or we can say change action. Now suppose I am typing here yes. Whenever I type yes, it means I am pressing my key. So whenever I press my key, that is called press action. That is called press action. My key will go down, right? Whenever I press, my key will go down. So that is called key down action. Now, if I leave my key will come up. That is called key up action. So like this, there are so many actions defined by JavaScript, which you can perform on your browser. There are a lot of actions which are defined by your JavaScript. For example, if I click on this is called click action. If I type something here, this is called change action, or key press action, or key down action, or key up action. So all these actions in JavaScript, we are going to call as the events. All the actions in JavaScript, we call as an event. Suppose if I say here, click event occurred, it means click action has been performed. If I type here something, or if I change like this content, now people will say change event occurred. The meaning of that is change event got triggered, or change action has been triggered. So in your JavaScript, actions are nothing but events. Actions are nothing but events. And what are different actions we have? For that, they have given us the list of different actions that we can have in the JavaScript. It means they have given the list of the events. What are the different events you can have on the browser? What are the different actions you can perform on the browser? Like clicking the button, or checking the radio box, or checking the check box, or typing in your input box. So like this, there are a lot of actions, and all those actions are defined in the form of events. So how many events we have in JavaScript means there are so many events. If you just want to find out how many events we have, so you can just go to the browser. You can just search for your console, and here just type on. Now see, this many events we have in the JavaScript. It means this many actions you can perform. This many actions you can perform. On the top of this action, you can add your own custom action also. On this action, on the top of this action, we can add our own custom action also. Or I can say, on this action, we can perform our actions also. It means whenever one action is occurred, based on that action, I want to perform some other action. For example, if I have a button, now if I click on the button, click action has been triggered. Now, whenever click action is triggered, I want to do some other action. Like maybe I want to change the style of my div. Maybe I want to change the style of my content, any element. So like, or sometimes I might want to update my content with new content. So like this, I want to do some actions whenever some other actions has occurred, whenever your browser actions has occurred. So till now we have done that only. So whenever we click on the button, we are performing one action. Means clicking the button is one action. And once that click action has been occurred, on that we are performing some other action. So all your actions in JavaScript we call as events. Now this JavaScript actions, if you want to catch, then you have to configure something called event listeners. Event listeners. And all the event listeners will start with the word on. And then your event name. Then you will have the event name. So event listeners are used to catch your event. They are used to catch your event. And once you are able to catch your event using event listener, then you can perform your custom actions. You can perform your custom actions using something called event handler. Using something called event handler. Okay, using something called event handler. So now here you have to understand few terms. The first term you have to understand event. Event are nothing but actions. Okay, like we have click event, we have change event, we have mouse enter event, we have mouse leave event, we have mouse move event, we have key press event, we have key down event, key up event. Like this we have events. There is one more concept called event listener. Now event listener is used to catch your events. It is used to catch the events occurred on the element. Once you caught the event, once you are able to track exactly when event got triggered, then on that you can perform your own actions using event handler. Now event handlers are nothing but technically it is a JavaScript function, or it is a JavaScript function call. So now whenever we have defined like this button, for this button, if you remember, we have added one attribute called onClick. We have added one attribute called onClick equals to, we have assigned one function call here, like this we were doing till now. So what is this? What is this onClick? This onClick is called your event listener. It is an event listener. What is FN? It is an event handler. It is an event handler. This one is your event listener. This is your event handler. Event handler. Now, whenever you click on this button, which event got triggered? Click event got triggered. Now that click event will be caught or catched by this event listener. And whenever this event listener is going to listen, acha, this click event got occurred. On that, it will call this event handler. It will call this event handler. It will call this event handler. So till now, I have told you this like an attribute, but technically onClick is an event listener. function call is a event handler. So why we are using this event listener? To catch the events, If you don't use event listener, you will not be able to catch the event. If you are not able to catch the event, you cannot perform any action on the top of that event. You cannot perform any action on the top of that event. For example, if I just create one button, like this here, I am just creating one button. Now, for this button, I am not adding any event listener. Now, if I click on this button, no action is performed because we are not able to catch the event. So if you want to catch the event on this button, if you want to catch the click event, then you have to add here event listener. And every event listener will start with the word on change or on click. Once you are able to catch the event on that top of that event, what you want to perform, what action you want to perform, that action you can define in one function, and that function you can call here. So now in this case, it is called event handler. It is called event listener. And which event it is going to caught? It is going to catch or caught your event click event. Now like this, we can configure any number of events. I can configure on mouse enter also. So whenever on mouse enter event triggers, I want to call F1 function. So let's suppose here I am defining one function F1. Now whenever I get F1 function, let's suppose I want to change the content of this button. So here I am just assigning one ID. Now getting the reference of this button using ID. So var btn equals to document dot get element by ID of button, and simply I will say button dot inner text equals to mouse entered. I'm changing my button content to mouse entered. Now just see here. Now whenever I take my button, I see I got here mouse entered. We can configure any number of event listeners. I can have one more event on mouse leave. Whenever I leave my mouse, on mouse leave event will be triggered, and on that I am calling F2. So let's suppose I'm just copying this and making here F2. In that case, I want to say here mouse left, something like mouse left. Now just check here. If I just go mouse entered, if I remove my cursor, mouse left, mouse entered, mouse left. Mouse entered, mouse left. If I click on this, whatever you want to perform, you can perform. Okay. So here we have F1, we have here F2. So like this, we have so many events, guys, so many events. So maximum we will use click event, change event, mouse enter event, mouse leave event, key up event, key down event. Based on your requirement, you can use any event. Now we have one property called text content. Like using text content also, you can add the content inside your element. Very similar to inner text. For example, here instead of inner text, I want to go with text content. No effect. You will find the same output. If I enter, mouse entered, mouse left, entered, left. Now here I am using text content. Text content is nothing but the content which you are wrapping inside opening and closing tab. That is called text content. Now you have to find the difference between text content and inner text. So I have explained you the difference between inner text and inner HTML. I want you guys to find out the answer, the difference between inner text and text content. What is that difference? You guys find out. You find out the answer. Just search in your Google. What is the difference between text content and inner text? They will explain something. Whatever they have explained, you try practically and check. You try practically and check. Do some experiments on that. Okay. So this is very simple concept. Event listener, event handler. Now there is one more concept which I am not teaching, but I would recommend you guys to go through that concept. That is event bubbling, event capturing, event propagation, event delegation. Okay, now these concepts I am not teaching, but I want you guys to explore this topic. Now these topics I have not included in your syllabus, but still I find these topics are little relevant. So maybe in your interview, sometimes you might get, like very rarely you will get this kind of questions. But if your luck is not that great on that day, you might get these questions in your interviews. So better to explore these concepts. It's very, very easy. Just go and explore, you will understand. If you won't understand, let me know. Let me know in tomorrow or day after tomorrow session. Just I have explored, but I did not understand. Let me know that. Okay. So anyways, these events we are going to use continuously in our React sessions also, in our Node sessions also, again in our JavaScript sessions also. So anyways, we are going to discuss this. But this is the concept of event listener, and event handler. So don't get confused with event listener and event handlers. Event handlers are always a function. Okay. Now, one more point you have to remember. Whenever you are using event handler, by default, your JavaScript will pass here one event object. There is one more predefined object called event object. Now, this event object you can catch inside your function. So here, which function we are calling? Fn, right? So where did we define Fn? So I think we did not define. So let me define here. Function Fn. Here, event object. This is the object type. Event is an object. Now, if you do here for var x in event, and simply if you do console.log, you will find all the properties in this event object. So if I go back here, if I click on this, now see this many properties we have here. Let me just check what I'm printing here. Event. Let me print x. Now, if I click on this, now see this many properties we have in that event object. Using that event object also, we can get the reference of this current element. Now I am passing this event right here. Using this event object, I can get the reference of this current element, that is button. How to get? Simply you have to do here event.target. Okay, let me just comment this part. In the console.log, you can do event.target. Now, event.target, this target property will give you the reference of current element on which this click event got triggered. If I go back here, if I just click on this button, now see here I am getting the reference of this complete button. Now on this button, I can do anything. If I want, I can add some styles also. So I can say event dot target dot style dot color equals to, I can say something like green. Now let's see our button color will change to green or not. Now see our button color changed to green. So event.target will give you the reference of current element. And once you have the reference of current element, on that element, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. So you can get the references using ID value, using class name, using tag name, using name attribute, and using event object also. Using event object also. So if you say event.target, it will give you the reference. And once you have the reference on that, you can do whatever action you want to perform, you can perform. Suppose I want to remove that element. So simply I can say event.target.remove. Now see, if I click on that button, this button should get removed. Now button got removed. Okay, now see how powerful this JavaScript is. If you know JavaScript very well, you can do any kind of animations. You can implement any kind of animations. So if you see the game applications, if in game applications, JavaScript is used very extensively. In gaming applications, you will see a lot of animations, right? So in a lot of games, the animations are created using JavaScript. Now, what people will do, they will create a separate animation library. They will write the code to create animations and they will create it like a library. And then they will sell their code to the people. They will sell their code to the people. Suppose I have created one library. I have written a lot of JavaScript code and I have created so many nice animations. Now you liked my animations and you wanted to use those animations in your application or in your projects. Then you will ask me, are you providing that animations as a free or you are providing by taking some money? So if I say it is a like premium, you have to pay certain amount to use my library. Then in that case, you have to pay some money to me and you have to use my library. Like this, just imagine if nearly 1,000 companies are using your library, means all those 1,000 companies has to pay you. Now it's your wish how you want to take. You want to take only one-time payment or you want to renew your payment for every year. So this is how people will develop this software and they will do a lot of business. Again, for that, you have to be very strong with your coding skills, right? You have to create animations such a way that people should like it. So that it is not that easy, but yes, people can do that. That is what some companies are doing. Your Bootstrap internally using JavaScript. They are writing JavaScript code and they are creating the animations. And few animations they are selling by charging some amount. Click is an event. Click is the name of event. On click is an event listener. It is an event listener. Okay. So here event. What is event listener? What is event? Don't get confused. Event is nothing but some action you are performing on the browser. Like suppose if I am minimizing my window, this is also some action I am performing. Now these are called events. Here I am clicking. This is called event. Here I am typing. This is called event. So we have so many events. Few events are called click event. Few are called change event. I have event like mouse enter, mouse leave. Now all this event, whenever this event is occurred, you have to catch that event. So how you can catch that event? Using event listener. And your all the event listener will start with the word on click, or on change, or on mouse enter, on mouse leave, on key press, on key down, on load, on your resize. So like this, we have so many events. Suppose whenever you are resizing your window, you want to do some actions. For that, you can configure that event, and on the top of that event, you can write the code to do some kind of actions. This is about your event and your this event listener concept. Okay, so let's explore remaining things in tomorrow's session. So tomorrow also we have the session. So in tomorrow's session, we will explore some more concepts. Yes, Sandeep. Click means event and on click is event listener, right?